Hello there. For the past few episodes, we have talked about why we created this channel. We talked about why do we seek enlightenment. We talked about the human quest for more, for the greater power, for God. Today, we are going to discuss what is God? What is this being that we all yearn for? What is it like? And a lot more. I'll start this by a quote from Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff said, "The greatest untold story is the evaluation of God." In our society, we have all kinds of beautiful people. We spend our life either believing or not believing in God. If you believe in God, there are those who spend all their life fighting, ignoring, or even killing to prove which God is more right and how others' perspectives are wrong. This not only happens between two belief systems, but even within the same one as well. Thus, the question that should arise in oneself, even before you accept or reject anything, is one must be open enough to understand first what is it that they are accepting or rejecting, the ultimate mystic God and one's belief towards it. So, does God exist? Is it a human? Not a human? Is it alive or dead? Is it living or non-living? Does it have a gender? Does it have a color? Is it white, brown, or black? Is it Asian? Is it American? Does it have a smell? Does it have a form? Is it one or is it many? Everyone has their own unique perception of the same thing. Even from human to animal, perception changes. Colors a dog can see differently from you or me. A colorblind person sees something different from what you and I see. Not only that, all of us identify sky as blue, but isn't that just another perception? Perception of sound is different. Someone will love rock music, someone will hate it. Same for taste. Someone will like sweet foods, someone won't even touch it. Everyone has the same ear, same taste, similar kind of taste buds, as they both can identify the same music or the taste of food, but still the way they perceive it in their mind differs. So one must understand this, that what we experience and what we perceive is different. Like history is always a perception. Something said by Jesus or prophet or Buddha can be perceived differently from one person to another, even though they would have heard the same thing in the same moment at the same time, live in their presence. Reason for this is because we would create, write based on our own preconceived notions of what we know. One is trying to explain something in words which is boundless. Uttering anything about it just takes us away from that, as one will try to explain it from the limited set of words the language allows us to express it in. Also, the way we express it will depend where we come from. A poet will describe it in one way, a scientist in another, a psychiatrist in another. So we must understand whatever we perceive or think of God is a perception of our five senses, limited to it. Growing up, I was a strong non-believer in God, and rightly so, because while growing up, people handed me and forced me to believe their definition of God in different forms, statuses, stories about heaven, hell, which in some way or the other I found limiting. So I kept rejecting it. They defined it in different gender with certain attributes and clothes with limited defined powers. This created a boundary in God. This to me defied defied the greatness within God that they saw. We humans live in a very physical material world, and we believe what we perceive with our own senses. However, as I said previously, what we see is just a perception, and what we see is limited, and all of this is proved even further with modern science. They have spoken about multiple dimensions, how everything is a form of energy. The famous scientist who invented the modern electric current, the alternative current in our homes, once said the following words: "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." This was said by the famous scientist Nikola Tesla. All of this is hard to describe, but because we get this through the medium of science, we don't question it today and accept it as facts, because enough fact checking and proving has been done. The most important fact one must understand about science is that it is still a belief system. If science tells you what an atom is and you just believe it, it is because it's written in a book, then it's same as religion. It only becomes real when you experience it for yourself. Then it becomes your own truth. This is something I have discussed before as well. In the same way, spirituality might have given us the same knowledge or even greater knowledge, and we would outward reject it as a fictional, as it's traditional. I, like many others in our generation, would rather get straight to the logic, but its fluffy stories around it is which often skews us from the real meaning of things. At this point, our job is not to worry about the fluff around it. Be patient enough to understand what is hidden within it. These sculptures were written thousands of years ago when science wasn't so advanced and neither were the knowledge of the individuals. So to explain it in contemporary terms of the time, they would have explained it in the way of stories or poems, as it had to be passed through generations, often verbally. Science is the contemporary version of our times. Religion was science of its times. However, in the same way the knowledge of science is timeless, same is true for the wisdom and knowledge of spirituality. The way science is theory of questioning things around you constantly, experiencing it for yourself and validating it, same is of one's spirituality. One must always question it, prove it for themselves, and then only believe it. After all, if you are going to dedicate your life or even certain aspect of your life to it, or find the part of your success, peace, happiness, wealth, God within it, would you just take the first thing that comes your way, or you would explore, investigate, test, and find your own truth? In order to understand something or to believe in something, there are multiple techniques one can use. One of the theories from Hinduism, from books which was more than 2000 plus years old, is called Samkhya, which is the theory of proof. Funnily enough, it's completely scientific and it has three main pillars. First one is Pratyaksha, perception. The second one is Anumana, conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. Third one is Shabda, the word testimony of reliable sources. This is the same things which makes us believe in science, something we can perceive like grass is green, different taste or smells, something based on evidence and proof like the fingerprints and DNA samples, and finally something based on word testimony or theories like one by Newton on laws of attraction and gravity. All of three pillars together, one after the other, should help us prove something. So, we are going to use the same scientific method to understand what God is. So, let's start with understanding what is defined as God in different belief systems throughout the ages. All of this are in different times by different people and expressed in different ways in different languages. What we are going to find and understand is that what holds common across all and stands true through the rules of Samkhya, the theory of proof. First is Christianity. God in Christianity is the eternal being who created and preserved all things. Christians believe God to be both transcendent, which means wholly independent and removed from the material universe, and immanent, involved in the world. Christian teachings of the immanence and the involvement of God and His love for humanity excludes the belief that God is of the same substance as the created universe, but accepts that God's divine nature was hypostatically united to human nature in the person of Jesus Christ in an event known as the Incarnation. Second religion we are going to talk about is Islam. In Islam theology, God is all powerful and all knowing creator, sustainer, ordainer, and judge of everything in existence. Islam emphasizes that God is strictly singular, unique, inherently one, also all merciful and omnipotent. According to Islamic teachings beyond the throne and according to Quran, the God is described as following: no vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. He is above all comprehension, yet is acquainted with all the things. He is God, who is one, God, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to him any equivalent. Atheism. Atheism is not really a religion, but it's a belief system. That's why I have covered it. In the broadest sense, the absence of belief in existence of deities is what atheism or atheists believe in. Less broadly, atheism is the rejection of the belief that any deities exist. In an even narrower sense, atheism is specifically the position that there are no deities. This, in essence, means there is nothing like God in form of deities, which essence mean nothing exists. The word nothing, like energy or God, is hard to explain. As soon as you explain nothing, it doesn't remain nothing. Like in space, there is nothing. However, that nothing can't be created or destroyed. It has no limit. Even if you feel that space into the box, that space still remains with nothing. It just got translated into a box. Fourth thing we're gonna discuss is Hinduism. Hindus believe that there is one true God, the Supreme Spirit called Brahman. Brahman has many forms. Brahman is present in every person or thing as the eternal spirit or soul called Atman. Brahman contains everything: creation and destruction, male and female, good and evil, movement and stillness. Hence, Hinduism has thousands of gods, as what matters is something that means for oneself. In Hinduism, Brahman connotes the highest universal principle, the ultimate reality in the universe. In major schools of Hindu philosophy, it is the material, efficient, formal, and final cause of all that exists. Its pervasive, genderless, infinite, eternal truth and bliss which does not change, yet is the cause of all changes. Brahman, a metaphysical concept, is the single binding unity behind the diversity in all that exists in the universe. Hindus consider soul within every living being to be same as their gods or deities. Such a philosophical term is called Advaita or non-dualism. The fifth religion is Buddhism. There is no belief in a personal God. Buddhists believe that nothing is fixed or permanent and that change is always possible. The path to enlightenment or nirvana is through the practice and development of morality, meditation, and wisdom. The state of nirvana is also described in Buddhism as cessation of afflictions, cessation of all actions, rebirths, and suffering that are a consequence of afflictions and actions. Liberation is described as identical to anatta, which means lack of any self. In Buddhism, liberation is achieved when all the things and beings are understood to be with no self. Nirvana is also described as identical to achieving shunyata, which means emptiness, where there is no essence or fundamental nature in anything and everything is empty. Buddhists believe that life is both endless and subject to impermanence, suffering, and uncertainty. These states are called Tilakana, or the three signs of the existence. Existence is endless because individuals are reincarnated over and over again, experiencing suffering through many lives. It is impermanent because no state, good or bad, lasts forever. Our mistaken belief that things can last is the chief cause of suffering. Now, I'm going to discuss God in terms of science. So, how does science see God? Science sees God as energy. Think about it. Energy is something that cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. What that means is eternal. From one form to another, it can only be transferred and can't be created or destroyed. Something which can't be perceived by any of our senses of taste, see, listen, or feel. Think about it. When we eat banana, we say that we get energy from food. We don't see it. When we get electricity, we can't see it. When sun gives its heat and transfers it to all the humankind, plants, animals, we don't see it. But we know there is a transfer of energy happening. The whole human civilization requires energy to function, which it gets from energy resources such as fossil fuels, nuclear fuels, or renewable energy. The process of Earth's climate and ecosystem are driven by the radiant energy Earth receives from the sun the geothermal energy contained within the earth. In essence, it's everywhere. But you can also say all of it is just another form of energy, as it has no limitations, as it's in everything and everybody. The other way to look at it as well is everything, whether it's a human being, a table, furniture, stone, animal, is form of different elements. Those elements at its minutest level is formed of an atom, and based on string theory, each of that is a vibration. Each of that has different form of atoms which has certain kind of energy which transfers from one to another. Based on that, everything is one big ball of energy, sharing with each other different forms of energy. So, in some way or the other, we are nothing but different formations of atoms. Everything is made of the same thing. It's only our perception that makes us see things differently. So, in summary, if you extract the common themes which I have, looking at all these different religions, reading about it, if you apply the Samkhya theory, the theory of proof, to all of the above belief systems, here is the truth or definition of God that comes ringing out of it. It is eternal and boundless. It's simple as that. Now, I could have explained this further. After all, that's what we are here to discuss. However, I have purposefully chosen to keep it simple as possible, as it's our human nature that from description one will try finding faults, create comparisons, fall into the trap of duality, an argument if God is one or everything is God. Aren't either of the thoughts opposing the theory of God being boundless or limitless? These are all slippery slopes, so be aware. After all, where do you go from here, from being in the state of eternal and boundlessness? Anything else to that statement is limiting its description, as you have to create a boundary of some kind to describe the phenomena. That is what the poets do, the historians do, the scientists might do, and from there starts the conflicts of my truth versus your truth. Don't relate to the form, relate to the message. Don't stop yourself on the words of the message. Understand the meaning. Don't just understand the meaning, experience it for yourself. If you believe in nothing, that is still a belief. In the same way, all religions at the core of it say the same thing at the heart. Aren't all the religions here to unite us as human beings? Religions are not here to convert from one religion to another. They are here to convert us from misery to happiness. Conversion from our bondages to liberation. Conversion from cruelty to compassion. Conversion from impure to pure. This is the conversion needed today, in today's time. As all the beliefs works in its own way and applies or connects to people in different ways, to have this broad-mindedness is what takes us closer to being boundless and to find out our true self. Also, this is the concept of non-duality, the truth which everyone in the world can agree to, doesn't matter what your belief system. You may call or see it as human, animal, God, Ishwar, a holy book, statue, ritual fire, incarnation, avatara, like Christ, Krishna, Allah, Buddha, Guru Nanak, Shiv, or formless like soul, spirit, energy, and all of it is true, as eventually at the heart of it, it is the same thing, and the complete one-pointedness towards it will bring us closer to the truth, that which can't be created or destroyed, and that which has no limits or boundaries of any kind. This is eventually that everyone is seeking for, and is where all the path will eventually lead towards. As you have made it till here, you are already open to a thought which is broader, more open, and possibly even boundless. You have already taken your first step towards understanding God. This is the thought one should keep within, and don't lose yourself over the details like the laws, rituals, traditions, stories. It might help, but it's just another perception. Perceptions are good in every form, as one way or the other it brings you closer to the truth. So what counts is your intent and attitude towards it. However, we should always be open to anything, free of our preconceived thoughts and beliefs, but one must always question it, prove it, and experience it for themselves to make it their own truth. The moment somebody or something creates boundary on God with form, color, gender, look, oneness, isn't that limiting the possibility of God itself? Remember, the kingdom of God is within you, and the jihad is only to fight your inner demons. All these things is process of our internal journey. So when you read something, make sure you perceive it in all the different ways possible. Don't take anyone's word for it. Go out there, read the books, listen to the enlightened ones directly, experiment with different truths, question them, prove it through self-inquiry, Samkhya theory, or through the process of elimination, neti neti, to understand what God isn't or what you aren't. Who am I? Including the words I have spoken in this podcast. Become a boundless seeker of the ultimate truth, but one who speaks from one's own experience. I'll repeat that line. Become a boundless seeker of ultimate truth, but one who speaks from one's own experience and isn't afraid of asking any difficult questions and going the extra mile to prove it for themselves. Finally, I would like to thank all the gods of all different religions for sharing this knowledge. In the end, I would like to end with a poem on Taoism. In the end, I would like to thank all the gods of all different belief systems for sharing this knowledge to humankind. In the end, I'll end with a few lines on Taoism, which is the way of the God.
Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way, by Lao Tzu. 1. What is the Tao? The Tao that can be understood is not the eternal, cosmic Tao, just as an idea that can be expressed in words is not the infinite idea. And yet this ineffable Tao is the source of all spirit and matter. Expressing itself, it is the mother of all created things. Not to desire material things is to know the freedom of spirituality, and to desire them is to suffer the limitations of matter. Yet these two things, matter and spirit, so different in nature, have the same origin. This unity is the mystery of mysteries and the gateway to spirituality.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the show. Good night and good luck.